What's going on, Badger Nation? Welcome to the PPC Den podcast, the world's first and longest running show all about how to make your Amazon advertising life a little bit easier and a little bit more profitable. Today on the show, we have my dear friend Sean Stone coming back, and he's going to go over 4 things that are working well in 2025. I'm going to leave it right there. Let's jump in. Sean, thanks for coming back on the show. You're on your summer vacation right now.
Yeah, well, we had a vacation last week. This week's back to work, but working from Greece. So, instead of going surfing, I'm going island hopping.
Right on. What island have you seen? What was your last island?
Currently on Milos, which is a pretty big island, but still considered a smaller island, I think. We did a boat tour earlier today, and yeah, this place is amazing. So shout out to Greek people.
Shout out to Greece. We got Jerry, and I can't even pretend to pronounce his name inside Core, who's fantastic.
Oh, agreed. Yeah.
Before we get to what we're going to get to today, I noticed this a lot in the world of, I think, digital marketing in general. I noticed it on Amazon. There seems to be some slowness happening in the summertime where people are just sort of like working really hard all the other quarters of the year. And then we get to sort of like June, July, August. It's like, hey, like let's slow down a little bit with our PPC optimization. Or more so, like people are a little bit more relaxed. And then towards the end of the summer, everyone wakes up a bit and was like, let's step back on the gas. Mm-hmm. Do you notice that?
Well, I don't necessarily notice that as much as I notice the general slowdown in sales that a lot of people see. And then I often will kind of have more conversations in the summer and be busier doing more work in the non-summer because people are freaked out from poor performance in the summer. Yeah, the summer slump.
I found in my own business, I feel like I've been going very hard this summer, and it's actually feels really good. I feel like I heard this advice like when COVID first happened, which was like, try to increase your velocity when others are going slow. And then like you'll launch out of when things pick back up, you're like launch out of it even faster. And I've tried to use that in my brain ever since then.
I like that. I think that's very logical.
Yes. Although who knows, I'm going on my summer vacation in July. So we'll see what happens. I'm actually going to your homeland.
Oh, you're going to Canada.
Going to Canada. That's right. So speaking of summertime, speaking of this year we're in, I think one perpetually good question to ask seasoned marketers like yourself is really, what are you noticing working now in 2025? And I think that I also want to preface this question and say, we're probably going to be listing some things that are maybe working with more intensity or more attention given to them than previous years. It's not to say that every single thing that was working in 2024 is no longer working in 2025, but there's always some kind of evolution. And I think a lot of those things that continue to work are often what people consider like boring, right? Like one match type per campaign, one ad group per campaign, like good placement management. So I think people consider those things sort of like boring fundamentals, but I'm a big believer in boring fundamentals. Maybe I'll do an episode on boring fundamentals. But at the same time, what is working differently and better in 2025 than previous years? I would love to get your thoughts on this. Let's dig in.
Yeah. I mean, I think, there are reports coming out constantly. There's constant news. People are saying like consumer confidence is down, consumers are uncertain, and that kind of stuff generally does start to shake down into the Amazon space. You'll notice that people are kind of like buying less. You might notice search volume goes down sometimes. Like there's a lot of different things that are happening. But what we've also noticed is we're working with a couple of different companies who are having like record months during unseasonal times. And it kind of just seems like there's been a bunch of different stuff happening in the market or a bunch of different stuff happening on Amazon that not everyone's caught up on. I don't know. So that was, and I wanted to make sure like come here and kind of share some of these ideas because, and I don't know, maybe some people will hear this podcast and be like, no, I wish you didn't say that. But I think this is valuable information. And I think, there's more to be shared.
I agree. So let's get into it. So what are you noticing working better, differently in 2025 that you're paying a little bit more attention to?
So there's a bunch of different things. Do you want to get into them one by one, or do you want me to go on a big rant?
Let's do the very first one.
The first big thing I think we could be talking about is using deals and PPC combined to really drive your ranking. And we're recording this June 5th. So Amazon deals just changed. The pricing structure changed. They're more expensive now. It's probably going to scare some people away. But the main thing we've noticed is people who are using deals, first of all, you should only be using them on your top products. And you should be using them with PPC in order to really push spend on your top keywords. And this is going to translate to not only more rank, but also more sales velocity in general. And we found that to be really, really, really effective. As you know, Amazon takes up more and more and more of the search results with ads. There's, by the time you get to like the 6th or 7th organic spot, a lot of the time you're like halfway down the page. So optimizing to be in the top 5 has become more important than it was in 2024 or 2023. And the main thing we found is like, okay, if you want to get there, then you need to have a consistent strategy that works. And the strategy we found to be the most effective and most repeatable is hyper-focused PPC and combining it with a really solid deal strategy. And so that's something that, I would say 9 out of the last 10 accounts we audited, they just straight up weren't doing it. They were doing none of it. And when I looked at that, I was like, this is honestly like a huge miss. And I think as Amazon becomes more of like an 80-20 marketplace where 20% of the sellers get 80% of the results, this is a strategy that you can't ignore anymore. You have to start paying attention.
Very much so. So let's unpack this a little bit. We have a fantastic episode of this here show that we recorded a couple of months ago, which was like finding the zone of possibility of what you can rank for. So I would advise people to go back and listen to that to first identify those keywords that you can even rank for, that are within your sort of striking distance to move into that. And I loved that episode that we did. I still refer back to it a lot because a lot of people don't exactly know like what keywords to go after, which ones are possible for them. And you mentioned, so like, I want to just say that you also mentioned something that I find really interesting, which was using it on your top products. So I want to unpack that a little bit. You have a top product, right? This top product, maybe it's your, can I say like top 5 selling products or maybe top 5% selling products? Is that like the zone that we're talking about? Okay. With that top product probably ranks for a variety of things already. So I just want to walk through your mind here. So you're then analyzing that product. Where do we rank for that we can move from sort of like, because you're right, the difference in sales between position 10 and position 1 are astronomical. So you're finding those in that sort of distance, and then you're saying, let me apply a deal to this, and let me go after some of these keywords, and you combine that with the structured PPC approach, and then you also tack on a deal. Tell me about why not to do that for your bottom 5% of products. You haven't seen the resuscitation that the product is coding on the floor, and you're like, sorry, guy, I gotta do the strategy for our best ones to get more juice out of it. Amazon's very inertia focused. Is that it? Like you're leaning into that, some of that inertia that good product already has?
So it's more about the fact that if you think about like, and it's no secret, you can even use different tools to evaluate this, but the majority of sales go to, call it the top 3, top 5 products on a given keyword. And so you can look at this on your own search query performance report. Even if you're not really doing that well, you can still look at your branded keywords and notice your branded keywords are almost entirely your own brand. You can just kind of do like a calculation from the 2 different columns, and you can see, okay, like 80% of the sales on this keyword are actually coming from just my 1 or 2 or 3 products. And so you can, if you have a product that's doing really well, you'll start to notice these trends once you start ranking for keywords in your business as well. So, like we have a supplement that is currently number one or number two for almost everything. It's a fairly niche supplement, but it's, there are competitors. It's just they put together a really compelling offer, and then they're able to kind of like package it in a way that really made sense for shoppers. And so we've been running deals plus PPC on this product, and it went from being like sometimes first, sometimes second, sometimes fourth, to like almost first on everything. And the reason we're doing it on products that are working really well is because the jump from sixth to fourth is a big step change in sales. Like that's a bigger step change than going from 20th to 10th or 10th to like 7th. Like that, the 3 or 4 positions is huge on Amazon, and it can be so transformational for your business. If you were to run this strategy on a product that had almost no velocity right now, you might get some more velocity, but it's unlikely to get a good return on investment the way that.
And in terms of the deal strategy, sometimes I observe someone runs a deal, they shoot up, the deal ends, they shoot back down, and they sort of like yo-yo a little bit. Is that any different in 2025? Like, how are you thinking of the calendar of deals?
Yeah. So as we've recorded this, there's been exactly 3 days since the deal rules went into effect. So
Yeah.
we're way on top of things. The main thing that we've been doing prior to this is we'd only really focus on products that are allowed to run best deals. So if you can't run best deals, the way to get to being able to run best deals is running a whole sequence of lightning deals. And so now you're allowed to run up to 14 days worth of deals on a product, which in February is 50% of the month. Now, if you have a product that has best deals available to it, what you want to be asking yourself is, can we get a good return on investment on this deal? And a lot of that comes down to conversion rate. So if you have a product that yo-yos back and forth when you run deals, it usually is a sign that your product's conversion rate is actually not good enough to be able to run those deals. Because what you really need to be looking for here is a product that when there's a deal on, it becomes an absolute no-brainer. And so you got to make sure that your conversion rate's dialed in before you get these deals going, or else you will start yo-yoing back and forth.
And do you also like cascade these, like sometimes brand tailored promotions, sometimes Prime exclusive discounts, sometimes best deals, sometimes lightning deals, and you sort of like run these for as often as you can throughout the year?
Yeah. Basically, if we have a product where, in our zone of rankability discussion, I specifically brought up a concept that we use a lot at our agency, which is this product considered rankable? We define rankable as, can we get this product into the top 5 with a combination of deals and PPC? So if you run a best deal and you get yourself top 10, but then you fall back down as soon as the deal's done, that product's not rankable. And you actually need to fix the core issue there. And a lot of the times what we find is if a product can get into the top 5, even if it falls back down, if you hit it with a bunch more deals and PPC over time, you will eventually end up being able to rank that product. And so this is a strategy that we've found to be quite effective. It takes time, it's expensive, and it works.
Alrighty. The second thing that's working well in 2025, you have written down here, subscribe and save coupons for consumables. What's different this year?
I think consumers finally got used to the idea of a coupon for a subscribe and save, because these have been around. They've been around for a while, but in the past, we've found that their effectiveness was mixed. And in 2025, these things are absolutely working. So our agency, we generally, I would say 80% of the companies we work with sell at least one consumable. And these things, like if you're selling consumables, a subscribe and save coupon for a consumable product can be really, really powerful. A couple of things to talk about with this that maybe people don't think about. one of the things is if you have a rankable product and you're already running deals and it's a consumable so you can get subscribe and save, when you run those deals, you can basically have the coupon and the lightning deal, the subscribe and save coupon and the lightning deal discount stack. And so you can get a lot of new people who subscribe to your products because they found you thanks to a deal. And then those sales will compound month after month and start to give you more and more sales velocity without having to buy that additional sale. We've seen some really, really powerful stuff come out of that. And that's for rankable products, right? So we're talking about products that can make it to the top 5. So this is another way you can get yourself to the top 5 if, of course, you're selling a consumable. If you're not selling a product that makes sense for subscribe and save coupons, get past this. Please don't do it. It won't make you money. But there's a flip side to this too, which is if you sell products that are what we call incremental, or like products that can't rank, these actually still make a lot of sense if, say, it's a product that's high margin, because what you're really allowing yourself to do is make a second sale on this product because you've got to subscribe and save. So when you're selling, like, say you're selling a high-end shampoo and conditioner, just as an example, using subscribe and save coupons can actually be a really powerful opportunity for you because you are getting probably a second, maybe a third sale on an already high-value customer. And that's something that you would have to pay for otherwise if you were to do it without a subscribe and save coupon. So this is actually good for premium products too, but in a different way.
One thing that always comes up is how does a portion of your customers eventually subscribing change a PPC strategy? Because now, we think of PPC strategy, we think of like break-even ACOS, we think of a target ACOS, we think of like our total ACOS, all this stuff. As you begin to stack on subscribe and saves, that sort of changes the equation for how to navigate your PPC. What goes through your mind when you are optimizing PPC, knowing that a certain percentage of them are going to be subscribers?
The first thing is you generally can expect your tacos to improve over time, assuming people are buying the product, subscribing, and enjoying their experience. So when it comes to our clients, we're looking at subscribe and save numbers with them on a week-by-week basis and kind of talking about it because it has a really meaningful impact on their business. It makes sense to do if you sell a consumable. If you don't sell a consumable, this is not really a good idea for you.
So that sort of percentage of subscribe and saves, do you reattribute that back to PPC, allowing you to maybe go a little bit more aggressive on PPC in that case?
Yeah. A lot of the times we will. It also helps with launches. So if you're launching a product and it's a consumable of some sort, it does often make sense to put the subscribe and save coupons on that product from the beginning because, like we launched a product, we launched 2 products, but on the same date. It was February 16th, and both of them have over 200 subscribe and savers on that product, and it's June now. And while that doesn't maybe sound like a crazy amount, they're small volume markets, and that's 200 people. That's 200 sales a month. We don't have to that are just adding to our almost organic sales. So it can really start to stack up over time, and so we had a launch tacos of 30%, and it's been coming down steadily while sales continue to go up. And when you start to look at the math behind it, it's like, oh yeah, well, we're not paying for 200 of the 1,200 sales we're making every single month. And that starts to become pretty helpful.
Exceptional. That's so cool to hear. Let's jump to the third point. Alrighty, Sean, we spent a good amount of time talking about this one.
Oh yeah.
In our days.
Yeah. So Michael and I are both in this networking group called Core. It's the call that I refuse to miss most weeks because I've missed it since I left. So I'm going to miss 4 in a row, and I've honestly been jonesing.
I was getting a little worried.
I've been itching for it. Like I miss 4. I'll be back in 2 weeks, and maybe I'll be more temp. But yeah, there are a bunch of things that are working really well that people haven't really been playing with, which is Amazon Marketing Cloud and being able to target specific audiences. So I want to talk a little bit about that because I would say 10 out of the last 10 accounts that we've audited, none of them are doing Amazon Marketing Cloud yet. It's a big opportunity and there are a lot of different things you can do with it. AMC audiences. So there are a bunch of ones you can use, and a lot of it really breaks down to like what type of product are you selling and what does your customer's buying cycle look like. But I hate talking about vague stuff like that. So I want to give some really specific ones and talk about who they're good for. And then, maybe if if you guys really like this, we can do a full AMC episode or something, or you can contact me. I'll give you as many tips as you want because I love talking about AMC. So the first one that makes a lot of sense is high lifetime value customers. This is really just anyone who Amazon deems to be a high lifetime value customer, like somebody who looks like they'd be a good opportunity for your brand. They've got all kinds of affinity opportunities. You can basically just use the Amazon Marketing Cloud AI query editor. You can tell it in plain English what you want, and they will write a query for you that will then give you an audience who you can then remarket to. So this is really good for people who maybe sell premium products or maybe sell products that are expensive, or if you're selling something that's more affordable or something that's some kind of consumable. If you do any of those things, these still work because you're going after the top end of the market. And so you can then put it into some kind of sponsored advertising campaign and then target this audience specifically and usually get a pretty good outcome from it. So that's the first one. And that works for, consumables and non-consumables.
Yeah, and I think of all these audiences, there's some that are definitely better than others. I sort of think of it like you want to work your way up the ladder of good audiences. And I think my favorites are the ones that are always based on a behavior that a person has done, because nothing beats behavioral based advertising anywhere. So like targeting people who have done something, and then you are targeting them because they've done that thing. So I think like doing the thing of like adding to cart but never buying, like that's a behavior that's like worth going after a little bit more. So like this whole cloud of retargeting, it's vast, right? Viewed my product, didn't buy. Added to cart, didn't buy. That kind of thing I absolutely love to go after. Have you noticed anything with that?
Yeah, that's the second audience tip that I was going to bring up, is like retargeting people based on exactly what you said. So there are a couple of different ones that we'll do inside of the retargeting, or what we'll call retargeting. And so we'll make individual campaigns for each of these. So one is added to cart but did not purchase. That one's actually like you don't need to write anything. It's like a clickable AMC audience. And then you just need to choose a time frame that makes sense and specify if you want to look at any specific products or all products. Another one is clicked your sponsored ad but did not buy. That's another one that's really effective, and that's one that we just always roll out. It just clicked your sponsored ad, did not buy is really handy. It's something that, we've seen work time and time again. Some of the other behavioral stuff we're testing right now is searched a specific keyword but did not buy. And that's something we would consider retargeting as well. But it really, like the first two are the ones that really have made a difference for a lot of our clients. And then there's also, you can also go after just like new to brand customers. Technically, that is something that we would call under, or we would describe as retargeting, because you're usually targeting somebody who is like brand aware and has not yet purchased from you. So those are some of the retargeting ones. So far we've talked about high LTV audiences and then retargeting audiences. Retargeting audiences has been so nice. It's a great way to build up momentum. You can build up momentum on any one product if you see fit. And yeah, generally speaking, it's a good opportunity.
Big time. Yeah, any kind of audience-based targeting. And again, like audience-based targeting is not a new thing, but what is really cool in 2025 is applying it to your sponsor products as bid modifiers. So like setting a bid modifier bid modifier for audiences inside sponsored products is really good. There's no doubt about that. Let's jump to point number 4.
So point number 4, this is something that seems a little counterintuitive, and it's something we traditionally do with products that we consider rankable and products where we are purposely trying to grow the ranking of a product. But what we've been seeing really work and really help our ability to make sales is limiting PPC budgets. So purposely letting our campaigns go out of budget every single day and really forcing Amazon to make more organic sales on this product, because basically you're not able to spend any more money on PPC on some of these top keywords. It feels very counterintuitive, especially when Amazon continues to take up more and more of the advertising space, but we've seen it work time and time again. And it's something that's worked across product types. It's not just a consumables play, but it does work very well for consumables. It's something that really helps your deal performance too, because you probably won't spend too much money on a deal if you run one, because you're not going to be running PPC as much. A higher percentage of the sales that you do make on any given day will actually not be from PPC. And so this is one of those things where you limit your PPC budget and you keep your bids high and keep your placement modifiers high. And then it's like you just run out of budget, can't spend any more money on that campaign for that day. And we've often seen it does not hurt rankings. And instead, it forces Amazon to just show your product organically. And next thing you know, you're making a higher percentage of your sales from organic, often without even hurting your total sales. So happy to unpack that however you want, but it's a point that I think a lot of people, like, it's not that new of a tactic. It's something that's been around for a while, but it's something a lot of people aren't doing, and you really need to be confident in order to do it. So that probably is what's stopping a lot of people.
I always try to think of the reasons why that works. And one question I have for you, have you noticed this working with dominant products?
Yeah.
Like products that are dominantly strong?
Yes. So we would call these rankable products. This primarily works with rankable products. However, we have actually seen this work, what we would call incremental products or non-dominant products, or whatever you would, however you want to describe it, but like products we don't think we can get into the top 5. What we've often been able to do with products like this is have high conversion campaigns that are not high converting enough that it's going to get us to the top of the page, but having high conversion campaigns that run out of budget. And then we limit those high conversion campaigns and have either a catch-all campaign that will pick up some of that excess spend at a lower CPC and a lower ACoS, or we've even seen waterfall campaigns work in this too, where we have a product we don't think is going to rank, but we still have good converting campaigns. We'll duplicate that campaign and just do a lower spend, lower ACoS version of that campaign. And so the top campaign only spends for the first quarter of the day. Then the waterfall campaign spends for another half of the day. And so you're just forcing Amazon to give you cheaper clicks while still maxing out your conversion rate.
Yeah, I was going to say the other thing that probably matters a lot is campaign structure. Like, if you had a super high volume keyword in the same ad group as a really low volume keyword, and maybe that, like, if you let it get budget capped, the high volume one is just going to eat up all the budget, and the smaller one will get no visibility at all. So being thoughtful about campaign structure there too. So you're saying, so like, if somebody wanted to test this, how would they do this? Walk us through, because this sounds, I'll be honest, a little blasphemous. Limited budget. It's often a good performing campaign. Most would say never let that run out of budget. Let that thing ride. The budget should be just add zeros to your budget and control it with CPCs. So like, there might be some people who are nervous to try this. What would you propose someone test in their account?
Yeah, I completely agree. when we first implemented this strategy, it was brought up by somebody on the team here at Stones Goods, and I was very against it. I was like, this is not going to work. Not only that, we're going to hurt our sales. So I was very against it, but this strategy ended up working for us. And then we were able to make it work on repeat. So you need to implement the strategy correctly. So the first thing you need to be asking yourself is this product rankable or incremental? Or put another way, is this like a dominant product that's going to be in the top 5 organically, or is it a product that maybe is never going to dominate? And it's okay, like you shouldn't just stop selling products if it's not going to dominate, because there's a lot of value in having more incremental products as well. So how do you implement this? It's a rankable product. You, generally speaking, you already have ranking campaigns. If you have a ranking campaign, what you want to do is ask yourself, how many keywords are in this ranking campaign? Like, is this a ranking campaign where we've got one dominant keyword and a bunch of other, or search terms, and then a bunch of other things that are kind of drafting off that performance? The way we like to do this is generally do it with a single keyword campaign. And the reason we do it that way is so that we know the entire campaign's performance is limited to one keyword. Then the very next logical thing to do is, if it's based off of a single keyword, what we'll do is we will just have the single keyword campaign running at full speed for 7 or 14 days. We know how it's going. And then we'll start chipping away at the budget. You see if we lose organic ranking. So you also need to be tracking your organic ranking while you're doing this. And so what we'll do is we'll cut the budget by 20% or $25 or something. Then we'll cut the budget again. And if ranking stays the same, often we'll just leave it at the new normal until it falls off. This is like found money in your business, because you're suddenly giving Amazon $25, $50, $100 less every single day for the exact same keyword. So, but again, you can't do this indiscriminately. Like, you have to be very specific and careful the way you do this.
Yeah, I would say the way that you just described it erased all my doubt. What you just described, I would say, has always worked in 2025 and previously. Like that exact thing where you're watching it, putting your foot off the gas, watching it, seeing if your total sales change. That's exactly that's the juice for sure. Because it is possible that you will notice no change in total sales from a product, even if you let that. And I generally do see it with the ranking campaign too. Like, if you let that ranking campaign just sort of run out of budget at some point, yes, that makes total sense.
Yeah. But it's, as a PPC geek, it's really hard to go into an account at like 3 p.m. and notice that your campaigns are completely out of budget. But, yeah.
And I think like the way to, again, tracking daily sales on that product, tracking ranking, tracking search query performance, purchase share, and just like watching those things progress and not have any negative impact. I would say like that dominant product does matter, because I do feel like one component of it is like the consumer searching. There, you need to have something about your product that they like step over whatever ad takes your place. So like they're stepping over the ad to go to your product. That is a major ingredient to make sure that this works. And you can track this, right? Like you can track this everywhere. Like Amazon's got brand analytics. You can track your purchase share and search query performance. You can track it in other areas of brand analytics. And you can just see, like, did my conversion share actually go down? And sometimes the answer is no. And I would say sometimes the answer is yes too. So like that's why you watch this and you make adjustments.
But there is another, we should at least quickly talk about the flip side of this, which is if you have a product that is not going to be dominant, you can still test this. But the way you want to test it is, you want to test it, again, ideally with some kind of isolated campaign structure. So maybe it's still a single keyword campaign. That's the way we do it, but you could do this a few other ways.
That's the easiest way to do it, I would say.
Yeah. And then what you would do is you would set up a single keyword campaign and you would have it running for maximum conversion rate. So you would ignore ACoS on this campaign while you're getting it set up. So for 2 and 7 days, you're kind of just tweaking placement bids for a high volume keyword where you're not able to rank, but you are still able to make a lot of sales. And what you want to do there is you want to still spend money on that keyword and then start really cutting the budget. And what you want to do is have a duplication or a duplicate version of that campaign or a catch-all that's going to catch a lot of that additional spend.
Yep.
And so what you're really setting yourself up to do is get a good number of high conversion sales on a keyword that you know works for your brand. And then on the waterfall portion of the campaign, you're going to spend less money, but you've already taught Amazon's algorithm that you're a high converting product for this keyword. So often what you're going to get is better cheaper CPCs, more sales, all that kind of stuff, but basically just at a lower CPC on the second half of that day. And often what you'll do is you'll let that campaign run for the rest of the day while you have this higher conversion campaign running for just a portion of the day. And that's the way I would test it.
Cool, Sean. So those are 4 things working well in 2025. We've got deals and PPC ranking. We've got subscribe and save in coupons. We've got AMC audiences, and we've got letting your budget hit the cap and being okay with it and tracking your sales. So Sean, amazing stuff. As always, thanks so much for taking time away from your Mediterranean vacation there in the beautiful Greek islands. I hope you are eating lots of pita and tzatziki sauce. Is it a sauce?
You know what? I'm not going to comment only because I don't know, and I'm too afraid to say something that's incorrect.
There you go. Well, I hope you're eating plenty of pita and tzatziki because it's delicious. I remember going to cafes and just ordering that and eating that for lunch. It's exceptional.
Yeah,
Yes,
it really
it's
is.
exceptional.
Yeah.
Living the simple life, looking out at the ocean, coming back in and doing the PPC Den podcast. Thanks so much, Sean. Sean, where can people go and learn more about Sean Stone?
We have an agency, but yeah, you can contact us. But some of the stuff that I think a lot of people would find really helpful is on our website, stonesgoods.com. We created a scorecard called How Do You Stack Up? And it kind of helps you go through a lot of these questions. You don't have to talk to anyone. You just have to go there, and I think we ask your name and email. But you can get a score on how well your account's doing. So it's like a self-audit. You don't have to give anyone access or send anyone a report. So the How Do You Stack Up scorecard is something I think a lot of people would like, especially if you listen to this episode, because, you're probably thinking, how am I stacking up compared to my competitors in 2025? Well, we've got a tool that helps you figure that out.
Well, Sean, the link is in the description. I hope you have a fantastic time on your vacation, and I can't wait to talk again. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you, and thanks for everyone for listening.
Alrighty, have a good one. And everyone else, I'll see you next week here on the PPC Den podcast.
I've launched campaigns and picked keywords. I've got my bids, set placements too. And bad mistakes.